Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. I basically flew 22 hours from Israel to tell you a story. And I'm glad they didn't start my clicker on the 30 minutes yet, because I have 30 minutes to tell my story. So I hope to share this about, I think more than anything, represents a lot about when they talk about Israel and Startup Nation and innovation. And I think that what I'm talking about in this coming half hour is a little bit about my story, my personal story, and what brought me to what we're doing today in Israel and globally in the world of life-saving. So we're talking about power of community. When I talk about power of community, I'm talking about implementation of technology, innovation, but more than anything, it's the people. It's people in the community. So I think we'll just start out with a short video that will really tell the whole story of what this organization is. So many different reasons. I can watch it 1,000 times and still it gives me the chills. It tells the story of what this organization is. For those of you who don't speak Hebrew that well, Hatzalah means rescue. We're United Rescue of Israel. This is people helping people. The people in the video you watched are not actors. These are actual volunteers, EMTs, paramedics, doctors that volunteer to drop what they're doing and go out and save lives throughout the cross-section of Israeli society. Because rescue, we know what rescue means, but what are we uniting? We're uniting the different walks of life, coming from different communities with one mission, and that mission is saving lives. But this didn't happen out of the blue. I want to take you on my personal journey that brought to the establishment and the starting of this thing. And I take you back to 1983. When I was a 9-year-old boy, 9 years old, I was sitting in the bus stop, coming back from school, and while waiting for the bus and thinking about my homework that I have, this is third grade, a little boy. I'm sitting in the bus stop, and from behind the bus stop, there's a little playground, and the little girl comes running out from that playground. She runs right in front of my eyes, across the sidewalk, and right into the street. And right in front of my eyes, I see this little girl get hit by a bus. And I'm sitting there shocked. The little girl is lying on the ground. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old. People are shouting from all over, yelling for help. This is before the days of smartphones or cellular phones, so they're shouting to the buildings next door for someone to call the ambulance, and in the meantime, nobody's touching the girl. Nobody knows what to do. And at that moment, I felt so helpless. Actually, what I really thought was how I wish I had superheroes power, but unfortunately I didn't. And the only thing that I did, I just got up and ran away. And I ran, and I ran, and I got home about an hour later, and I didn't sleep that night. And the next day, when I came to school, they gathered us in the gym, and they'd come to speak to us, because it turns out that this little girl was a 6-year-old first grade girl from my school, and she didn't survive this accident that I had witnessed. And at that moment, I decided I won't grow up to be helpless. To see all those people standing around, not being able to help this little girl, I made a decision that day. I was a little boy, but nonetheless, the decision was made. I am going to do something that will be meaningful. And as I grew up, of course, the first simple thing is to say, I'll become a doctor. But as good as I was at school, which wasn't that good, I understood I'll have to compromise, but I want to do something. So when I reached the age of 14, there's a program in Israel that you can do like a first aid course and volunteer in the government ambulance in the afternoons after school. And I joined this program, and I do my training, and I get on this ambulance for the first time, and we're driving with lights and sirens, and the adrenaline is rushing, and we're getting through traffic, and it's taking time, and we get there, and we're helping people, and it just felt amazing. It felt this is the right thing to do. So I started volunteering every week, then almost every day. I, like I said, was not very good at school, so I would cut school and go ride the ambulances. Then I went in the army in Israel. You have a mandatory military service, so of course I went to the medical corps and became a medic to continue my life mission in life saving. And eventually I joined the government service. But as a teenager, riding on the ambulances, I remember that we identified two major obstacles, challenges, if you may, in the field of EMS, which are shared globally. And those are, number one, it takes ambulances too long to go from the station to the patient. Traffic, congestion, too many calls, lack of enough ambulances, etc. That's number one. And number two is once I finish my shift and go home, there could be a child, just like in the video we saw, across the hall that is choking and I won't even know about it. When will I find out? When the ambulance shows up. 10, 15, 20 minutes late. And is there much we can do to someone who's suffering a massive heart attack, cardiac arrest, choking victim, if you show up after 15 or 20 minutes? I drove the ambulance for many years. Best ambulance, best medical equipment, best medication, best training. Show up after 20 minutes. Nothing to do. So, we went to the manager, and told him, as teenagers, I must have been 17 years old, and we told him, listen, while we're sitting in the station here, and we're trained, why don't you give us like a radio, or a pager, or something like that, and we go back to our neighborhood after the shift, and if there's something, we'll immediately respond. Be first responders before the ambulance gets there. And like a good union manager, he looks at us, at me and my colleague Eli, and says, kids, get out of my office. Don't teach me how to do my job. So we went out of his office, but we didn't like the no. And using a old Israeli technology called chutzpah, which means a wild form of audacity, of not liking to listen to authority, not taking no for an answer, basically doing whatever we want, we went out and bought police scanners. And we just started listening to the radio frequency of the government ambulance service. And suddenly, when there was a call in our neighborhood, we'd have people responding within 3 minutes, within 2 minutes. And suddenly, change started. And this model, which just started as a local neighborhood initiative of a few volunteers, went and grew over the years to a national organization, which is now growing internationally as well, as an NGO, a nonprofit organization that is constantly thinking about original ways, using technology, innovation, ingenuity to try and minimize that response time to any medical emergency, no matter where. It is a non-for-profit, it is a charity, it's volunteer, and it's utilizing the power of community, regardless of what community they are. And we know what the power of community is. We see what the power, the social power is today. We see it through all social media that we find. We see it from campaigns, from Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and other for campaigning for putting out your new record, or your book, or your new gadget, or whatever it is that you're inventing. And across the board, we see it for demonstrations, boycotting, and other. A lot of negative and positive, but we understand one thing, the power, the social power is amazing. What we're trying to do is take this power and leverage it to one mission, which is saving lives. And on the way, we're having a lot of fun because we're inventing a lot of technology and we're revolutionizing the concept of emergency medical services globally, understanding that the community play a vital role in this mission. So we started as a bunch of teenagers in the neighborhood, and now we have over 6,000 volunteers in Israel responding, and another 6,000 globally, all trained and doing everything for totally free. Our service is free, and they do their volunteer work for free. Because we understand when ambulances take anywhere between 10 minutes and half an hour to get to a medical emergency, it's simply not good enough. And what we're trying to do is minimize the response time down to 90 seconds. Sounds a little bit like science fiction. 90 seconds from the moment the dispatcher picks up the phone and says, 911, what's your emergency? Till the moment somebody comes through the door. That's 90 seconds. We're currently at 3 minutes nationally, but in certain cities where we're saturated enough in the community, we are at 90 seconds, and I'll show you an example of it soon. One of the marks of what we're known for in Israel, starting over 15 years ago, 20 years ago, was understanding that going through traffic is a mission impossible, especially during rush hour. And just by touring your lovely city here yesterday, I got a taste that it's no different here than it is in Israel or New York or any other big city in the world. And the challenge is the same challenge. So what we started actually 20 years ago, we were sitting in one of our meetings on how we could do better, and we ordered pizza. And there was like a big manifestation outside, and the roads were blocked. And we ordered pizza, and manifestation or not, the pizza arrived in 25 minutes. So we're eating the pizza and we're saying, wait a second. If we can use this pizza in 20 minutes and get it hot, why don't we use these motorcycles to save lives and get through the traffic? And so we did. And today we have over 1,000 motorcycles, mopeds, that volunteers ride around on, and they take home and they go to the cinema and to work, and everywhere they go with it, and they save lives within under 3 minutes, aiming for the 90 seconds. So I was in New York a while ago, and there was a siren of an ambulance going on outside. It was really driving me nuts. So I pull out my phone and I take a video of how long it takes an ambulance to go one short block. And I took some footage from a GoPro camera of one of our volunteers in Tel Aviv around the same time of day, and this is what it looks like. So you can see the orange ambulance in the top right corner. And on the left hand is Tel Aviv. Traffic comes to a stop because of an accident, but the volunteer, the EMT, the paramedic continues. And you can see as he pulls up, on the left-hand side, there's already one motorcycle on the scene of another volunteer that started treatment on this patient, getting there within 2 minutes, saving the life of this person in the ambulance that was stuck in traffic in Tel Aviv as well. Simply, when he showed up 10 or 15 minutes later, all he had to do was transport the patient to the hospital. The bleeding was stopped and the patient survived. And this happens every single day, many, many times. So our teams today have over 1,000 motorcycles, thousands of defibrillators, rescue boats, ATVs, thinking of every solution we can to any sort of scenery that we might find ourselves needing to get to a patient fast. And this is all an auxiliary to the government service, which is the official services. So any call that comes in to the 911 service of the government automatically is transferred over to our system, and we dispatch within seconds the nearest by responders and resources through our unique technology, which I'll talk about in a minute. And in total, we respond every day to over 1,800 emergencies every single day. 1,800 emergencies. A volunteer drops what he's doing at home, at work, in the cinema, whatever he's doing, and immediately goes to respond. And in total, we've responded to over 4 million emergencies over the past 13 years. So imagine you're sitting in a hotel lobby. And I'm asking you to imagine because I did it many years ago. I was sitting in Eilat, our summer holiday town on the southern beach by the Red Sea. And I'm sitting in the lobby of the hotel, not far from the swimming pool. And I'm having breakfast, a late breakfast on holiday. And suddenly I see this was back in 2004, 2005. And I see an ambulance team run through the lobby. So of course, like a paramedic, I immediately get up and run to join them and see what's going on. And I see they're running to the swimming pool where they're performing CPR on someone who had drowned. And I'm sitting in the lobby. It took the ambulance 10 minutes. Now back then, Nokia had come out with the N95. If any of you remember, it was like a slider phone running the Symbian system. And it had a GPS component on it, except when you pressed the GPS button, what happened? Absolutely nothing. It would just show you coordinates, which was nice, but what can I do with these 6 digits? So what I had thought was, I live about a 4-hour drive from this town, 5-hour drive from this town, and I'm on holiday. My base is in Jerusalem. And I only receive the emergencies in my neighborhood in Jerusalem, but now I'm in Eilat. And I'm right next to a life-threatening situation. So I took a notebook and wrote all sorts of ideas that we can do. And I went to a software company in Israel called Matrix, which had just started their mobile division. And I presented them 2 devices. One was the Nokia N95, and the second was the Nextel, the Motorola, the click-click radio phone that also had a GPS, running Java, that also had a GPS on it. And I presented them with my idea. Why don't we create software that will connect based on your location and not based on where you come from or where you work. Forget the groups, the regional groups of radios that we're so familiar with. And they came back to me 2 months later with a fancy book and presentation and said, for $1 million, we can do it. So we went out and we raised $1 million. And 8 months later, we had a live living model of a product, a software that could locate, it's location-based activation. And actually, when you think about it, and my wife always jokes about it, she mocks me, when she says, if you weren't so busy with all of your friends and your life-saving missions and all of these things, we'd be billionaires today because we'd be worth $70 billion. Because simply what I had created back in 2005 was Uber. Uber of life-saving. Very simple. We created the original software. Evidently, I should have been sitting better in school to learn about patents, because then maybe I would be worth something today. But nonetheless, we created the original platform of Uber. We are Uber of life-saving. It's a network of community, of people going about their day, carrying apps on their phones, which enable the system to identify who are the nearest by responders to any medical emergency based off of their location on their device, according to sophisticated algorithms of, are you an EMT, a doctor, a paramedic, what equipment you carry, are you on a motorcycle, in the car, calibrating traffic, connecting into Waze and other software that will get us to the response as fast as possible. And this is how we started out. This was our version of Life Compass 1.0.
What's your emergency?
I was hit. Please help. My daughter's not moving and I can't move my legs.
What's your location?
29 Locust Drive. Hurry! The guy who hit me drove away.
Motor vehicle collision, hit and run with driver trapped, child unresponsive, ambulance 29, rescue squad 29, engine 29, respond on 7 Bravo.
Ambulance 29 to communications. We're en route, experiencing heavy traffic. ETA is 12 minutes.
Okay, ambulance 29, continue as dispatched.
9 Edward Charlie en route. Be advised, bumper to bumper, extended response.
Okay, 9 Edward Charlie. Ma'am, help will be there as soon as possible.
When every second counts, help is often out of reach. NowForce is a mobile solution that empowers emergency response and security organizations to extend that reach. By using smartphone technology, NowForce can pinpoint and alert the closest and best qualified responders, including out-of-vehicle and off-duty personnel, so that help arrives sooner. Enhance situational awareness, minimize response times, and optimize incident managers. Connect, respond, save lives.
So this was Life Compass 1.0 10 years ago when we introduced the model of using cellular technology and smartphones in the field in order to save lives. And hang on a second, I'm getting mixed up here. Let's keep going. Am I going backwards or forwards? Okay, and if you notice in the video, she was asking for location, where you are, and of course, as technology evolves, we don't just sit and wait for the next thing. So we go out and we work hard and try to think, what is the next step? What else can we do? Minimize the interaction. Use technology, use the people, connect this information, and today, we're already working with the next gen of our Life Compass, which
in an emergency situation, time is of the essence.
Technology.
With billions of 911 calls placed each year, response times vary greatly, averaging between 6 to 18 minutes from time of call. Introducing Carbine, a multi-layered public safety system presenting the most groundbreaking upgrade to 911 in decades. With the push of a button, callers send crucial information to first responders, including personal data, location, and live video. Using our proprietary location algorithm, dispatchers can pinpoint the caller's exact location within a 3-foot radius, even indoors. With live video streaming utilizing signals of connected cars and wearables, dispatch can collect as much information as possible to determine the appropriate response. A chat feature is also available in the event a caller cannot speak. And the system can even collect data from dropped calls. First in, first out will become a thing of the past as supervisors use all the information available to determine the order of calls getting transferred to dispatch, while seamlessly handling multiple calls of the same incident and assuring reporters that help is on the way. Our cost-effective system has been proven to cut times to dispatch in half, and time is of the essence when lives are on the line.
So this is the next generation that we're already using the best technology in order to mobilize the community, build that resilience in the community, the people understanding that you're surrounded with people around you that know how to help in time of emergency, builds a more resilient community and enables us to not only respond faster, but build stronger communities. And this model is now actually being adopted globally in many different countries, because understanding that people are people are people, it doesn't matter where. Going around, I've been in the field now for 30 years since I was a teenager. We all have the same challenges. And what we try to do is share this information and create the understanding. We all talk about discussions here about interoperability between agencies, government, etc. What we have done is if we have waited for the government to approve what we're doing, we did a bypass to the bureaucracy. We created the model, introduced it as live, living, and working, and basically forced the government services out of their comfort zone, not only to approve what we're doing, but more than that, to improve their services. And they're working harder because some civilian organization, a non-government organization, is gonna make them look bad? No, so they are working harder as well. And who benefits from this? Once again, the community, the people, everyone across the board. And today this model is being introduced and implemented in many countries, also here in Latin America, in Mexico, and in Panama, in the US, England, in Asia and other places as well, India, etc., are all starting to mobilize these missions of improving and leveraging the power of the community, not just telling them we'll take care of it, rather embracing the social power. Social power goes beyond our cell phones. It goes beyond social media. It actually can get down on the street with the people there that can make the difference, because help, it's not ambulances that save lives. It's people that save lives, and that help can be right across the hall or in the building next door. So this is just a little bit, a taste of some of the places in the world, in the US, connecting communities. An amazing byproduct of this is, yes, besides innovation and technology and people and saving lives and all this great stuff, an amazing byproduct is this is a bridge builder, because it's such a common mission that is uncontroversial. All communities that naturally do not connect find themselves suddenly connected in a mission that connects them, that they could connect comfortably with. And you see, both in Israel and in other places, communities coming together with this bridge building mission in the community. So to sum it up with one last video, and then I'll be able to take a question or two at the end, I'll leave one video of a gentleman by the name of Nas Daily. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a famous vlogger out of Silicon Valley that did 1,000 videos, daily videos from around the world about different missions and projects in technology and in social movements and things like that. And this video got over 60 million views from around the world, sharing what we're doing, and we're able, because of this video, to help additional countries and additional places.
The following video is about a guy, who is the fastest to save your life. But first, let me tell you what the problem is. Imagine you're in a remote area. You get a heart attack and you call an ambulance. For that ambulance to get to you, it has to drive all the way through traffic and narrow streets. And by the time it gets there, you are dead. This is how millions of people die every year. Ambulances are just not fast enough, and that is scary. Then I met this guy.
Hi, my name is Eli Beer.
This guy found a unique way to solve the ambulance problem. Here is how. It's very simple. The ambulance is too big, so Eli used a motorcycle and called it an ambucycle. Instead of employees, Eli found volunteers, regular people just like you and me, the teacher, the engineer, and the student. He trained them for months, gave them medical supplies and an ambucycle.
Drive carefully.
And he let them go back to their normal life. And every time someone calls for help, his technology finds the closest volunteer that can help.
Think of it like Uber, but this is for free and we save lives.
They drop whatever they're doing, arrive on the scene, and give medical care until the big ambulance shows up. This is how the difference between life and death looks like.
The first 3 minutes are the most important to save a life.
Eli's system is so fast that any phone call is answered in 3 seconds or less. And show up in 3 minutes or less.
And in most cases, we show up in 90 seconds or less.
So by the time you spent watching this video, someone is already at your house saving your life. This is the fastest medical emergency service in the world and the cheapest, because it's entirely free.
By the way, our team is 5,000 volunteers and it's all sponsored by donations.
It's an organization that's 100% politics free, 100% cost free, 100% amazing, and 100%
human.
People of different backgrounds volunteer to join Eli's team of medics. The Jews, the Muslims, the Christians, and everyone else.
I love the fact that I'm sitting here in United Hatzalah in between an ultra-Orthodox Jew and a Muslim.
All of them dedicated their time to save others regardless of religion or race.
Hello, how are you? Shalom, shalom.
And overall, they saved over 3.5 million people.
When my own father had a heart attack, the first volunteer who came to save him was a Muslim volunteer who was nearby, and my father was Jewish.
My dad got a heart attack. The first person to help, the fastest response, was from a Jewish volunteer, and my dad is a Muslim.
What you're looking at is a group of people who came together under one organization called United Hatzalah to rise above politics, above money, above race, above religion, just to save lives.
So, if I go back to where I started when I was 9 years old, I think that the fact that I'm standing here in Buenos Aires, sharing this technology, this innovation, this recruitment of community, I think that maybe we were able to make a little difference, and we're just at the beginning. We hope to share it in many more places. So thank you very much. And I have one request of you, because I traveled 22 hours and I left my family, so my 17-year-old daughter forced me to take a selfie with all of you. So all you got to do is just lift your hands up in the air and we will selfie with you all. Thank you. Any questions? We have a minute maybe or two. Want a question or two? Wait, I'll put on, I need my translation. Someone took them from here.
Here? Hello? Hello? Yes. Well, first of all, congratulations. I am really...
Go over to Spanish.
It's Spanish? Okay, en castellano. Bueno, primero, ante todo, felicitaciones. Es realmente impresionante cómo usted convirtió su sueño en realidad y nos inspira a todos a poder hacer lo mismo. Así que en ese ¿no se escucha? ¿No? Well, I can continue in English.
Now I can hear you up there, yeah.
¿Se escucha? ¿No?
She's translating, wait, she's translating.
Ah, ok. Entonces, bueno, nada, primero felicitarlo, es muy inspirador, lo felicito realmente. Mi pregunta es, ¿cómo usted y su organización lidia con las organizaciones que son con fines de lucro? ¿Cómo es que compatibiliza esa situación, ¿no? Y cómo se sustenta la organización, digamos, o mejor dicho, bueno, nada, principalmente esa pregunta, ¿no? ¿Cómo lidia con las organizaciones que sí tienen un fin de lucro?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Thank you for the compliments. So I think that the simple answer would be, you asked a few questions. So number one, I think that as far as working with competition, for that matter, it's a little bit different because in Israel it is socialized medicine and there's one government ambulance service. So there are 150 private ambulances that we get along pretty well with because our primary goal is not the transport. Our primary goal is the emergency response, bridging the gap. It takes the ambulance 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get there. So our responders will get to the scene, start CPR, connect the AED, stop the bleed until the ambulance comes. So whether it's the government service or the private services, they're all benefiting from this community movement because it's not about competition. And in regards to your question, if I understood correctly about the funding, so as a non-for-profit, we're a charity and we do fundraising. We fundraise and around the world. As we're expanding. And also we sell some services not in the emergency field. Anything and everything that we do in the emergency field is free. But for instance, there's a football match. So you need to have some ambulances at the football match. So we will go up to the tender of the football teams and offer a price to bring our teams to secure. So we do create some sort of model of sustainability, not enough to cover our expenses, but we do that by fundraising from charity. We're good? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.